Sports betting legalization is a play Minnesota lawmakers have repeatedly tried to run for years, but have yet to get it into the end zone. 38 states, including all of our neighbors, now have legalized sports gambling in some way, and many in the North Star State think it's time to join them. Past stumbling blocks have included concern about gambling addiction, licensing, and competition with racetracks and native-owned casinos. We've gathered both sides of the issue here tonight. DFL State Senator Matt Klein authored a sports betting bill last session. We welcome back DFL State Senator John Marty, who has concerns about legalized sports betting in the state of Minnesota. Thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Senator Klein, as I'm looking at this would be, if it passes, the biggest expansion of gambling in Minnesota in, what, 40 some odd years? I mean, it's a pretty big deal.
We can think of it as the expansion of gambling, although I like to just think of it as modernizing what people are already doing. We know that large numbers of Minnesotans are already participating in this activity, in many cases through illicit or nefarious or untrustworthy sites. And we want to create some guardrails around that and provide it safely. We also know that 55% of Minnesotans support legalization, and so we want to respond to their very real concern that this become legal.
Are you softening on this a little bit? You were a pretty strong anti-gambling guy, and your press release earlier in the year seemed, with a couple amendments, maybe it'd fly.
Well, I've always been feeling adults should be able to gamble if they want. They should be able to gamble on sports, on anything. They can bet with their friends, they can bet with coworkers, they can bet with strangers, and they can already. And they should be allowed to. My concern is the predatory, exploitive businesses that come in and want to profit off of people's gambling. And the trouble is you have people who, it may not draw in too many new people, it will draw in more people to gambling. But the problem I have is a lot of the people who are gambling people who might gamble occasionally. When you run ads all the time, and the sports betting industry is very good at collecting data, and they know exactly what drives you, what promotions to run, what you're susceptible to. So my concern is that bringing in the predatory businesses makes it far more addictive, and the states like New Jersey that have had it for 4 or 5 years have said they've had a tripling of calls to their problem gambling hotlines.
What do you think?
I have nothing but respect for Senator Marty's legitimate concern about public health and also his care for Minnesotans who might be vulnerable to compulsive gambling. What I would say is that 25% of revenues in the bill that I'm authoring go to grants to Department of Human Services and Department of Health to raise awareness and address problem gambling. So I think we may be actually stronger with legalization than we are in our current unregulated environment.
I wonder, are the keys to this the control of the sports books for the tribes? I mean, who would control this exactly?
In my bill, it's exclusive licenses for the tribes, and that's been an important principle from day one. We have legalized gambling at casinos in Minnesota, and we've confined that to tribes, and that's become a huge economic engine to restore power and economic independence to our sovereign nations, and I think we need to respect that principle going forward.
Have you been a part of this? Because there's the charities, there's the tracks, there's the tribes, there's the sports teams. I mean, a lot of pieces have to come together, don't you think, for this?
There are a lot of pieces, and like Matt, I support the fact that we made commitments to the tribes years ago. We ought to keep and respect those commitments. But most of the discussion of this bill in the past has always been who profits from it. My concern is the other side, who gets hurt by it, how do we get hurt? And again, gambling addiction is the most deadly in terms of suicide risk of any type of addiction, far more deadly than opioids in terms of suicide risk. Half of the people who have been in treatment for gambling addiction have considered suicide. 1 in 6 have actually attempted it. And if we have a tripling of the people who get that far along the line, they get more intensive gambling because of this, we have a public health crisis. So my concern is not who benefits from it. I have no problem with the way Matt is proposing that. I have concern about how much we need to address the problems.
Where are the horse tracks on this? I mean, they're looking, Canterbury's hurting. And is hurting for money. So I wonder, where do they fit into all this?
I visited Canterbury last summer, and I will say the horse tracks in Minnesota are an important destination experience for Minnesotans, not unlike the state fair. People expect to be able to go there in the summer and enjoy it, and so we take their concerns very seriously. But, we talk about the tracks and the tribes and the charities. One thing we don't talk about too much is Minnesotans who think this is a legitimate recreational activity, and they really don't understand why the government is standing in their way.
I was surprised how little money is at stake here. I think people had a grandiose, this will help us fully fund education or something, but the dollars aren't, relatively speaking, aren't that big, are they?
It's true. When we think about providing providing 11 licenses for 11 sovereign tribes, and you divide that pie 11 different ways, the numbers are not gigantic. So it's true, nobody's getting hugely rich off this.
I want to go back because I didn't quite hear an answer to my question. So where would the tracks fit into this? Would they have a piece of this, and how would that work?
In my bill currently, they do. They have revenues that come directly from street tax revenues to their purses at the tracks. And we continue to workshop ideas with the tracks about how to make that just right.
Senator Marty, are you comfortable? There would be money if it passes set aside to help folks who are problem gamblers. Is that enough money being talked about, though?
No, and I would say I also have concern about taxpayers subsidizing the tracks. When the tracks came in, it was going to be a huge new industry for Minnesota and bring in lots of new money. And now the fact we'd actually use public money to subsidize, I have a problem with that. But the other thing is the bills now are talking 10, 15% tax bracket. And it's a highly, highly profitable industry. And the corporations, the FanDuel and DraftKings and others, they make so much money off of it. New York State has a tax rate that's not 10 or 15%, it's 51%. How'd that happen? Well, they agreed to it because they know it's such a profitable business, and they had to negotiate, and they came up with 51%. We do a higher tax rate, we'll get more money in.
You need bipartisan support, sounds like.
I'm not positive that's the case. I continue to work with Senator Marty and other people who have concerns in my caucus, and I think, there's a chance if we can get an all DFL bill, I'll continue to work that, and I think it'll be a better bill for Minnesotans. Certainly it'll address Senator Marty's concerns.
What are the next steps then for the bill?
It's in front of the Finance Committee. We're going to take it back to Commerce Committee and hear some of his amendments.
You're going to hear the bill as a chair of finance.
We're starting to take it back in his committee and to take on some of these amendments. I have concerns about, we've had college athletes who've gotten death threats for making plays because you changed the point spread. We got to protect, I think we should not be allowing collegiate sport betting. I think we should be protecting minors. I think we got to protect against the most predatory practices. If we do that, I'm happy to work. Senator Klein and I have talked about working together. We're going to try and get something together.
If you're giving it a hearing, that's a step forward, I would say.
We're going to go through one step at a time. We're going to take up amendments in his committee.
All right.
We'll be watching. Good
Thank you,
stuff,
gentlemen.
fellas. Thanks for coming over.